world that nature has to offer in one lifetime. What a dream! To travel freely into the home of the wild ones, to live with them, to become so accepted by them that they hardly notice that you're there. That is not only my dream, that's my goal. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there.
I walked on the mountain and down by the sea. There I saw the man who shared this world with me. We shared this world with wild ones, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. I wandered down the valley, crossed to the other shore. There's wildlife all around us, birds and bees and so much more. We're always going to take some, that's the way it's meant to be. We're also meant to save them, that's the power in you and me. Well, I woke up to the sunrise, stood there at sunset too. Still I saw the wild ones, wish you had been there too. For with one touch of nature, the whole world had become kin. This message all around us, that's the way it's always been.
Wildlife Unlimited Foundation, thanking you for doing your part to keep our wildlife unlimited. I'm wildlife photographer Bill Porter, and I'll take you there. Sometimes they're cute. Sometimes they're beautiful. Other times they're simply amazing. But it's always exciting in the wonderful world of the wild ones. The high country, bighorn country, the highest, roughest, steepest, rockiest places that can be found. A fitting place for the bighorns. Bighorns call the highest, roughest mountains home. They once lived all along the Rocky Mountain Range, from Alaska to Mexico, and lived in Asia as well. The thin horns, known as Dall sheep, close cousins of the bighorns, still survive in good numbers in Alaska and northern Canada. Their lambs are white when born and resemble the domestic sheep that we are familiar with. Born high in the rocky ledges, they soon migrate with their mothers to the small meadows and join in small groups. These groups are made up of ewes and lambs. A few younger rams are tolerated here, but as a rule, the rams have their own bachelor groups for the summer. They join the ewes only during the fall and winter rutting season. The desert bighorns are found in the southwest mountains. They are darker and have a smaller body size. Only the bighorns and their close relation, the mountain goat, spend the winter awake in these high elevations. The bighorn sheep was once driven to extinction in the Bighorn Mountains. The Bighorn Mountains, so named by those who saw them first, because the bighorn sheep were so abundant that some described the herds as large as the herds of buffalo on the plains. Some get hurt in accidents, but must keep up with the herd. Bighorns once inhabited an area covering a wide range of the western mountains. Today they inhabit a narrow arc following the roughest of the Rocky Mountains from the north to the south. Man has reintroduced the bighorn to several of its former strongholds, but not without problems. One of the biggest problems is that the bighorn is not a wandering animal and will simply stay in one area and starve if not taught the migration routes between summer and winter ranges. Seems simple, but without bighorns that know the routes, the situation has proven to be quite a challenge. Monitoring herds with radio collars has helped maintain a closer observation, while getting the first generations acquainted with their new world. Still, teaching them their migration routes remains the biggest problem when reintroducing them to these extinct areas. Gradually, the traditional areas are started. Things as simple as where to eat at what time of year, trails to get to the rocks above for safety, and trails to get to the high country to get away from the summer bugs. Safe birthing areas. All these areas have to be established. then passed on to the new generations. Traditional rutting grounds. They differ in terrain and purpose, and they are lower as the foods of the highlands are depleted and winter is setting in. Snows start to cover what little food is left, and right next to the grounds is the battlefields. Here on Whiskey Mountain, found in the Windy Mountain Range in Wyoming, the largest herds of native bighorns still roam free. Moreover, prospects for the future are looking good. Here the local people have gotten together and decided the wildlife here, the bighorn in particular, is important. Land has been set aside. Land that if grazed by man's cattle would be void of grasses the bighorns need to survive the winter. Moreover, it has been found out in recent years that the wildfires humans have been putting out would have cleared the draws of old thick brush and fallen trees. After years without these fires, the draws are simply impassable. The traditional passageways from summer to winter food supplies made impassable. This could wipe out the bighorn. Now, however, some of the fires ignited by lightning are not put out, and they are allowed to burn, and the ways of the wildlife left more to Mother Nature. The draws have now been burnt clear. Now the new grasses and wildflowers grow and flourish each spring. New trees have started to grow back, still short enough to provide food for the wild ones here. The young learn what plants to eat and fast become independent. Although they may still slip a bit of milk from their mothers, they eat mostly grasses and brush leaves by the time they are only 3 months old. Starting at a very early age, young ewes as well as young rams use the age-old way of ramming heads to settle dominance. As they get older, and during their second summer, both young ewes and rams still follow the herd, led by the oldest ewes. The ramming of heads, setting dominance, continues. This hierarchy setting is important because it sets the structure of the herd. The strongest will lead them into the next generations. Even in the rams' bachelor groups, the pushing and shoving, as well as kicking, continues. Butting the ground and bushes is another way of showing off their horns and strength without actually fighting. With his head and neck outstretched, the ram will tilt his head to the side, showing off more of his massive horns. Then, running after or at another ram. The size of their horns settles most disputes. Seldom will two rams with different size horns actually fight. But that doesn't stop the pushing and shoving. During the rut, most of this activity takes place close enough to the main herd that they can watch. A ram will use the lip curl when he smells a ewe that is coming in season. The closer she is to being receptive, the more pronounced the lip curl. A bighorn's headgear is as much symbol as weapon. Bighorns use their horns as weapons against each other, but rarely against other animals. Apparent at birth as small tufts of hair, the horns grow larger every year. By fall, they have small points. By the fall of the second year, the ewes have horns that tip back, but are much straighter than the rams, which are starting to curl and resemble the bighorns they are named after. The growth creates rings, which help determine the age of the ram. The rutting season, mating season, starts in early fall. The dominant males return to their respective herds and once again pursue the ewes. One of the first distinctive signs of the rut is the lip curl display, done by the male when he smells a ewe that is coming in season, sometimes standing and smelling the air. Lip curls are also done after smelling the ground, after a ewe has urinated there, as well as following her tracks. The rams spend most of their time pursuing the ewes. Ewes are only receptive for a short time, so the rams check the herd repeatedly for ewes that are close to coming in season. But other rams want to be supreme. And although much of the hierarchy is set by this time, the new, stronger hormones flowing at this time of year spark new conflicts. Showing off the size of one's horns is the first step. By tipping the head to one side, the horns look as massive as possible. Pushing comes next, combined with kicking. This pushing and shoving is often done by several males at the same time. While some of the males are off settling their stature situation, the ewes mill around eating. Their route often takes them past the natural salt lick. Bighorns love salt. It has been reported that sheep will actually accept man as a two-legged salt lick if he so wishes and spends a little time at it. Some have found that after feeding salt to the bighorns, that they have become a nuisance, and in an effort to get more salt, older rams have become dangerous when they don't get the salt they want and become aggressive. Each herd has a dominant male. Most of the pushing and shoving is done by the other males, as they try to build up the courage to challenge the dominant one. While they are off challenging each other, the dominant male or males are checking the herd and pursuing the ewes. Only for a short time frame will the ewe be receptive. Therefore, the rams go from one to another. The difference in how close a ram follows and the degree of the lip curl can help tell how close the ewe is to being receptive. Another tactic is bush butting, another way to show off one's strength without fighting. If this fails, the only answer is to ram heads. This is done time and again until one gives up The sound of these clashes can be heard up and down the canyons, off and on throughout the day. When one does give up, the winner often follows him great distances, as if to drive the point home, thus avoiding repeated challenges from the same males. This does not always work, but for now, he is superior. Spring brings a whole new beginning to the mountains. Each ewe will leave the herd, now void of adult males, which have returned to their bachelor groups for the spring and summer. The ewe will have its lamb, usually only one, but one can observe a set of twins. She has her lamb alone on the rocky outcroppings of these high mountain meadows. The young lambs stand and move about shortly after birth. After a few days, the ewe brings her lamb back to the herd. There they play with the other lambs and learn the ways of the bighorn. Lambs become independent very quickly and will stay away from their mothers longer every day, coming back only for safety and milk. As they eat more vegetation, they need less milk, and by late July seem to be on their own. Although the newborn herd is a herd inside the herd of ewes. Few predators prey on the bighorns. Few predators can compete in this rough terrain. Coyotes don't kill many sheep, but do scavenge on some when they find the opportunity. Timber wolves will take some, but again prefer to live and hunt in the less rugged areas. It is the golden eagle that is the greatest threat to the newborn lambs. They will grab a lamb off of the rocks and carry it away. Grizzlies also roam these mountains and will take a bighorn. Mountain lions are so agile and cunning, they stalk silently through the rocks, ambushing an unsuspecting bighorn, or one that is unlucky enough to get hurt bad enough in a battle or just from a fall that it cannot make the winter. It will either become prey or just starve. Either way, its spoils provide nourishment for other animals which live on. This world has seen such splendor. We must not allow any of it to be passed over or forgotten. The bighorn stands so high and mighty, only man can make him fall. How desolate this world would be without our wild family. Eagles and osprey are part of that group, as well as hawks and falcons. Hawks are aggressive hunters, diving and chasing their prey, usually from a perch. The goshawk, with its wingspan of 42 inches, hunts mainly in and around forest areas.
and underwater. Sportsman and photographer Bill Porter with son John and family invite you all to join them at a spot in the country where we hope to see some wildlife still run free. We'll go hunting, climbing, fishing, diving, see things that help to set the spirit free. We might take some of the surplus that the good Lord has provided, always mindful of the sportsman's creed. So the wildlife we all love remains unlimited. Old Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, will show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. For a sportsman's more than just a hunter or a fisherman. There's things to see to all the mind of many a mortal man. From the way the wild protect their young to canyons carved in sand. Oh, don't take them all as you recall. We're for wildlife unlimited. Yes, Bill and Rose and little John, who's grown to be a man, we'll show you through a camera's eye wonders of the land. You might camp with them by mountain streams or run barefoot in the sand. But wherever you go, recall the creed, keep the wildlife unlimited. Wherever you go, recall that creed, keep the wildlife unlimited.